Hey folks, Barracuda6 here. Just wanted to start a video series on reloading. This one's going to be kind of an introduction of why you would even consider getting into reloading. And typically what you'll find is three main reasons for getting into reloading. And honestly that's kind of what we got into, the three things that we looked at when we got into reloading. Number one is availability. Number two is economy. And number three is accuracy. And I kind of think that these first two are pretty interchangeable. It seems like every time that there's something that goes wrong in the world that includes a firearm, it's almost like a Penn and Teller Vegas trick, because a politician opens their mouth and all of a sudden, poof, firearms are missing off the shelves, magazines are missing off the shelves, and primarily ammunition's missing. So while it is definitely more economical to shoot reloads, and we'll kind of cover that a little bit too, availability kind of really trumped it for us when we went into the store and there was no ammunition on the shelf at all. And we're a family that likes to shoot, and we're going, man, where are we going to get ammunition? And you check back at the store, check back at the store, check back at the store, shelves are empty, shelves are empty, shelves are empty. But I walk down the reloading aisle and there is a ton of powder. There is bags and bags and boxes of bullets. I'm thinking, it might be time to start looking at reloading. So availability wise, even when supplies for off-the-shelf factory ammunition is completely gone, in some cases, there's almost always reloading supplies available, and that kind of keeps us able to keep on track with our practice and our shooting. As far as economy goes, let's take a look at that for a second. Alright, as far as economy goes, if you only shoot a box or two of ammunition a month, every other month, something like that, economically it's not going to work out for you. It's probably going to be cheaper to get off-the-shelf ammunition. Additionally, if you are paying full price for reloading components, it's going to be cheaper, but it's not going to have as drastic of a cost savings. So let's take a look at the tale of two rounds here. On the left here we have Winchester White Box, the ubiquitous Winchester range ammo. It's 45 auto, and alright, a little soapbox. It's not 45 ACP. ACP is automatic Colt pistol. It's the gun it's shot out of. Automatic is the round itself, just like the clip magazine thing, the muzzle barrel thing. It's use the right terminology. So we have 45 automatic, the White Box range ammunition. It's 230 grain round nose, and it's chronoed. The factory says it's 830 feet per second. We shot 50 rounds through a chronograph and we had a spread of 28 feet per second. So the lowest speed we've had on this was 802 feet per second up to 830 feet per second. It was just that ballpark range. It was a spread in between. While a vast majority of them were 825 to 830 right in there, there were a few that were a little bit lower. What that translates into is our third reloading accuracy. Our third reason for reloading is accuracy. And what you start to see is your spread get wider and wider and wider as the feet per second drop off. Now at close ranges, it's not that big of a deal. But when we're shooting 50 yards, half a football field, with iron sights on a 1911 5-inch barrel, that tends to be a big issue. I'll show you a target here in a few minutes. So as far as economy goes, this is what you would normally get. It's $24.99 for a box of 50. This box holds 50 cartridges. Divide that out, it's about 50 cents each. Now, I always factor in tax, if there's shipping, if there's a hazmat handling fee, depending on where you get your ammo from. So this with tax is $27.30. So it comes out to 55 cents. Each one of these is 55 cents. So every time you squeeze the trigger, it's 55 cents down and gone. Now, we start talking about reloads here. It's 230 grain bullet. It's a round nose, same target ammunition. I'm using the brass casings that we picked up. I didn't purchase those. Those are just range pickups. But we're a little bit slower at 820 feet per second. But the accuracy picks up quite a bit as we only have a spread of 9 feet per second. So while we're looking at our target of 820, instead of having a swing of 28 feet per second, we only have a swing of 9. So that leads to a much, much tighter group. Now, when I add up all the parts on there, the bullets, the actual head, this part here, the projectile that comes out, a bag of 100 was only $17.99. So we're going to round that up and say 18 cents a piece. Primers are sold in a box of 1,000. Those were $21.99. Average that out, it's 2 cents a piece. So now we're at 20 cents for the bullet and the primer. The powder, depending on what you get, how fast it burns, how much you need, and all that stuff. We settled on tight group for the 45. And we'll get anywhere between 800 and 1,000 rounds out of that for $22.99. So we're looking at 22 cents a shot. And I'll talk about this average price in here, but 22 cents a shot. Now we go ahead and multiply that out. 22 cents times 50 comes out to $11. Well, $11 is a heck of a lot cheaper than $24.99. But now if you are, again, you're only going to be shooting a box or two a month, it might not do much for you in the way of cost savings, because you are going to be investing your time into reloading this. But if you're shooting a pretty good volume, or you have, say, a family like us that shoots, you're going to be burning through a lot of ammo, and we go every month, at least. Some of us going quite a few times. So it's not uncommon for us to burn through 500 rounds in a session when we all decide to go. And you know, for us, cost-saving wise, it's going to be much, much cheaper doing this. Now, I talked about that 4 to 11 cent average. We have a store called Cabela's. It's an outdoor outfitter here. And I no way, shape, or form advocate using credit at all, but they do have a credit card that gives you points. Those points are redeemable for merchandise. So if I had 25 or 250 points, or I forgot how it goes. Anyway, it comes out to $1 amount each month. So if I had $27.30 in points sitting on my account, I could walk in, buy this off the shelf, and walk out the door without taking cash out of my pocket. Great deal. What we do is pay, we've gone to a full cash. If you don't have the money for it, you don't buy it, kind of thing. So we don't use credit at all. However, what we do is pay a couple of bills, get gas and groceries and things like that with the card, and as soon as we get home, go online, make a payment, and it's done. We never pay 1 cent in interest. Haven't paid a cent in interest in 5 years we've been doing this, and we're averaging anywhere between 20 and 35 bucks a month in points to use at the store. And well, let's take a look. If I had 25 bucks sitting at Cabela's for free, oh gee, my powder's free. That cost is gone, so now we're at 20 cents. Next month I bought primers, and boom, that cost is gone. So now I'm down to 18 cents just buying the bullets. But if I had saved $3 on that one, $4 on that one, that's $7, that's $10.99. Oh, now I'm down to my 11 cent average. So while you're not going to be able to realize this cost saving every single month or every single time you go, I've reloaded 45 cheaper than I could buy 22 rimfire off the shelf. And you're shooting 22 going, man, this costs more than 45. It's kind of a great feeling. So you can use the system if something like that's available. I know Gander Mountain has a credit card that does something similar like that. You can check around, see if there's something like that would be something that you could utilize. Unfortunately, if you don't have a store like that available, powder is going to be your big ticket item, because the bullets can go in the mail, no big deal. Brass can go in the mail if you want to buy brass. The primers and the powder are going to get a hazmat fee tacked onto there, and it's not cheap. So you'd probably have to source those locally to realize any kind of cost savings like that. But we're averaging 4 to 11 cents per round on 45, and our 223 is free the way we've sourced it all out. So economy wise, if you're willing to put in the time and you're willing to dance with the devil with the credit card thing there, which, you know, thankfully we haven't had any problems with that, you can realize a really good cost savings. So our third part is accuracy, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. All right, our third part here that we talked about, our third point for why you want to reload, is accuracy. On the left we have factory 193, the Federal Lake City brass, the brown box stuff you get from the store. It's our military ammo. On the right is our reloads. We use the PMC brass. They're fired brass, so we reuse that. We also reuse the Federal. It doesn't stretch as much. The military, or the 5.56 brass, is a little bit thicker due to the higher pressure, so you're able to get more uses out of it. You can reload it more times, but it is a little bit stiffer, and we've noticed, at least for the AR we have set up as our precision rifle, the tack driver guy, it doesn't do a whole lot with that. So what I've done is I pull all of that brass aside, and we use it on the other ARs, and the thinner brass that we used set up for the 223 brass. It's a little thinner, stretches it more, makes a better seal. I don't have to neck it up as much, and I get much more accuracy. So I'll just save that brass for the rifle we have set up as our little tack driver guy. All right, so what are we looking at here? Both rounds here use 55 grains. They're full metal jacket tips. You know, there's nothing special to these. From the factory, 5.56 is going to push out 3,200 feet per second. But running it through our chronograph, we found a spread of 63 feet per second. So it may be as low as roughly 3150 to like 3210, somewhere in there. That was kind of our ballpark range. So it still gives you pretty good accuracy, but what we were seeing is, especially with the thicker brass, it's a higher pressure, it's a higher speed, it's designed to go fast. What we did is, especially with the rifle we got for the setup with the scope and all that, it's a free-floating 20-inch barrel. We used 23 grains of IMR 3031 powder, and that brought us down to 2953 feet per second. Our spread was only 26 feet per second, so it's a much narrower range for velocity. But what they did is extremely tighten that group quite a bit. So at 100 yards, a football field away, this was the diameter of our shot group using factory 193. Pretty darn good. I mean, all things considered, you know, the size of your hand. I mean, a football field away, and you drop 30 rounds into that, that's pretty impressive, no doubt. But what we've cooked up with this recipe for that, with that barrel, using that brass, cut to a specific length, set to a specific depth, crimped to a specific diameter, using that powder, we've gotten the accuracy down to that. 30 rounds into the size of a nickel at 100 yards away. Now granted, it probably took about 200 rounds of testing to get it down to that, but that's a recipe that will reproduce that accuracy over and over and over and over and over again. Why would you need that? Well, if you're shooting little varmints, these little guys that pop up out of the ground, well, you may not have that much space for a margin of error. You might have to have a tight group like that. You know, out here coyotes are a little bit of a problem, so having say, that much sitting in between a tree that you have a clear shot at. So you may only have a hand's distance, hand width wise. Do you want that much of a margin of error? Or do you want that much of a margin of error? This will produce a lot more hits on target than this will. And again, if you're not willing to put in the time and the effort, okay, buy it off the shelf and this will be just fine. So accuracy wise, for the rifle, it is, for me anyway, I can't find off the shelf ammo that's going to shoot that tight of a group with that rifle the way it was built. So by reloading, I've picked up the accuracy potential and can really, really, really push that gun to its maximum accuracy potential. And I'll show you what I was talking about with the accuracy with the 45. Okay, we were talking about the accuracy potential with the 45 when we said there was that big spread in velocity in feet per second. This is kind of where the rubber hits the road as far as our dealing with accuracy goes. This is kind of a little bit bigger than an AP1 target, the NRA AP1. This circle you see in here is a 12-inch circle. This target was set out at 50 yards. We're using iron sights, or they're actually night sights, but there's no optic on it. Set out at 50 yards with a 5-inch barrel. Okay. Tough shot to begin with. But now, this was done in, I believe it was in March. Yeah, okay. March 19th of last year. It was 37 degrees outside with sustained 10-mile-an-hour winds with gusts up to 25. So 50 yards out, 10-mile-an-hour winds, 15-mile-an-hour gusts, 37 degrees outside. There's a lot of variables that had to be accounted for. Your body shaking because of the cold, whether or not you were able to consistently squeeze the trigger with gloves or not with gloves, depending on how things were going. So what we saw initially was fighting the gusts. We kind of patterned off to the left mostly, and that was because we had wind coming this way. So we were able to aim to the right a little bit to let the rounds kind of walk in and hit, and depending on the gust speed, you know, that would push them off just a little bit. Again, it's half a football field away. So what we saw was a really wide, huge pattern with the first 25 shots of the Winchester White Box. And we kind of correlated that later on, going, wow, there's a big difference in speed. Your quality control, it's a huge spread in feet per second. So this one may have been really, really fast. That might have been boom, or one of these would have been right in there. But then you go and it's a little bit slower. Now the forces of wind are starting to push it a little bit. Okay, we started to see that little bit of a spread. So when we switched over to the reloads, that's the first time we started seeing ragged holes touching groups. You know, all of these, I know for a fact these two right in here were from the reload. Even though it was coming out 10 feet per second less, it was consistently the same speed. So accuracy wise, even though it's the same 45, it's the same 230 grain bullet, it's coming out of the same shell casing because we pick them up and reuse them, we're starting to see is this was our group in here. So now we're starting to see doubles, 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 triples, 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 triples. I don't even know how many rounds are in here. But we're starting to see a much tighter group, whereas we had over a foot, now we're starting to see, you know, less than half of that. So we're starting to see that everything tighten up for accuracy with the added benefit of having ammunition on hand to shoot, as well as getting it for cheaper than shooting a rimfire 22. So for us, reloading works. And what we'll do is kind of show you how we do the setup with the our reloading station, why we did what we did, and how we do it. That'll be coming out in a couple of videos here. Thanks for taking a look. If you're interested in topics like this or some other things we have up, feel free to go ahead and click the subscribe button. Appreciate it. Have a great day. God bless.